Hey guys, happy Saturday to you. I was in a discussion with some other people a couple of hours ago. Yeah, maybe this morning, actually, four hours ago. The question came up was vulnerability. It's interesting because everyone has a different take on what is vulnerable and what's not vulnerable. Um, and I'm just kind of interested in a couple of things that you guys might be able to share with me and tell me what you think. The ultimate question came up to what is vulnerable, what equals vulnerability. Are you vulnerable with just anyone, or who are you vulnerable with? And what have been the benefits of being vulnerable? I thought it was an interesting conversation. And if you think about it, I'd really like to get your feedback on what you think that means to you. What is vulnerability? Can you be vulnerable just anyone? Or is it something more along the lines of no, you're going to be vulnerable with certain people and at certain levels, depending on that. So interesting. Some of the people were saying that no, you can't just be vulnerable with anybody. One of the questions I asked was, when was the last time you were vulnerable? A majority of the people said they haven't been vulnerable for a very long time. There were some people that said yesterday, last week, last month. And then we asked what the degree of vulnerability was in that last time that they felt vulnerable. And it was really interesting to watch how people answered that question, because a lot of times they didn't really know. They didn't really know to what degree they were vulnerable. They knew they were being vulnerable. And is that maybe the case, that sometimes we just know we're being vulnerable, but we don't really know exactly how vulnerable we're being? Um, Let me know what your thoughts are on that. I see a couple of people hopping on. So, Marisa, nice to see you. Good to see you. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I know it's raining where I'm at, and I think it's raining down where you're at as well. But so, what do you think, Marisa? What do you think about this idea of vulnerability? Can you just be vulnerable with anyone? And to what degree can you be vulnerable? And when was the last time you were vulnerable, or maybe even felt vulnerable? And what was the outcome? I think a lot of times we think that the outcome is going to be one way, and it's something else. We think that it's going to be an outcome of, acceptance, and we get ridiculed. Or we think we're going to be vulnerable with someone that we think is going to be, let's just say, have our back, but that doesn't always turn out, because they may not understand what have your back means, and maybe you haven't made it clear enough, or maybe they're just thinking about the conversation, and they just start talking to people about the conversation. A lot of times when we share vulnerable situations, we share it with people that don't qualify, in my opinion. What's your thought on that? Have you ever shared information with someone that didn't really qualify for that level of vulnerability? I like what Brene Brown talks about. She says that there are being vulnerable, that we're being vulnerable at the right level. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. Vulnerable at the right level for the relationship that we have with that person. So you might have a different level of vulnerability for this person than that person. What are your thoughts on that? How are you deciding who you're being vulnerable with and who you're not? Have you even created a criteria for that, as far as what you're being vulnerable for and what you're not being? Really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. I'm only going to be on a few minutes because I've got some other things that I'm going to do, but I wanted to kind of put this out there, pose the question, and let you guys decide to answer however you want to answer, and give some feedback. If you want to share this out with some other people so that they can give some input, love to get other people's feedback. I'm streaming to a couple of different sources right now using a new service that I'm playing with, and I'm really interested in the different people, the different views, the different perspectives of what vulnerable is, how you qualify vulnerability, how do you make that make it is vulnerable or it's not, and then who do you share that with, and have you ever shared something thinking it was going to be received one way and it was received another? If you do, I appreciate sharing that. Okay, I see that. Gotcha. Great. Guys, so many times we approach situations from a perceived notion because of maybe a past experience, or maybe because something we thought about in the past, or maybe we thought a certain person was going to receive it this way and they didn't. Or maybe we thought this level of vulnerability we can be with this person, but it wasn't. Or we were very vulnerable and we received amazing remarks, amazing feedback, amazing, ability to really connect at a deeper level. And I think ultimately, when we're trying to be vulnerable, our normal goal is to receive feedback, to get a better connection with people. And a lot of times we do, and a lot of times we don't. So, what are your thoughts regarding that? I appreciate you guys giving some feedback. And trying to see. Okay, I see on YouTube now. So, what is your opinion? I'd really appreciate it. Guys, I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you actually are able to get some rest, but also able to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish today. Enjoy your next level.